podcast 99 twarzy AI. Zaprasza Karol Stryja. Dzisiaj zastanowimy się, jak budować zaufanie do AI w środowisku prawnym i biznesowym, ale traktując ją jak pełnoprawnego sparring partnera. Moimi gośćmi są Martin O'Malley i Marcin Kleina z Wolters Kluwer. Punktem wyjścia naszej luźnej rozmowy przy kawie są wnioski z 7. edycji raportu Future Ready Lawyer. Zapraszam. A producentami tego odcinka są
Mikołaj Poruszek i Janek Toruński.
Okay, gentlemen, so you've just published the 7th edition of the Future Ready Lawyer Report.
Yep.
What stands out of it?
I think the biggest standout is, I would say, this huge change since 2019, where I think at that time, the majority of lawyers were talking about AI and using technology. And the big change today is they're actually doing it. So 91% are actually using AI on a daily basis. That's massive. And I think it probably reflects the fact that just in general, the way the space has moved has accelerated enormously.
Marcin, how about you?
This is very interesting that we can observe in this report global trends. And in fact, what we see is that there are no significant differences between different countries. Yeah. So, for example, when we see results from US, from China, from Poland also, there are some critical and very similar observations. As an example, concerns regarding implementation of AI. So everywhere, lawyers are looking at the things related to data protection, to cybersecurity, and there is no much difference between continents, markets, etc. And pretty much the lawyer in Poland and in China understand that there is an improvement in efficiency thanks to AI tools, but at the same time they understand risks related to those problems with implementation. Yeah, so this is very important observation.
Sure. Martin, so if we agree that there's a high rate of adoption right now, could we please name the areas how the lawyers, the finance guys use the AI right now?
Yeah, so I think there's probably a number of different levels. So firstly, if you look at our, traditionally the way lawyers have accessed content, they've accessed it via keyword search. That's changing in our products to where they interact in a conversational way. And I think that's going to become the standard way in which they interact. The other is AI is being used to help draft and review documents. And that is, if you look at essentially what lawyers do on a daily basis, they spend a lot of time in document work. And they're essentially using AI to augment that work. But I think there's also a strong focus on doing that in a responsible way. So the quality of the output for them is critical.
Do you agree one change that I've noticed is that the context is spreading? Because you are able right now to work with loads of documents simultaneously.
Yeah. So I think that is, I think what we see there is that I think lawyers have always worked with huge volumes of documents. If you think about due diligence process, for example, and the ability to deploy the technology to process volumes of document, whether it's contracts or other, is enormous. I think that is where you see efficiency gains. But it's still very much focused on ultimately ensuring that they can deliver quality result to their client at the end of the process.
I had a conversation a couple of months ago with Vadim Makarenko. He's one of the journalists that was engaged in the Panama Papers investigation.
Yeah.
So the investigation itself lasted for more than 2 or 3 years, as far as I remember. And I asked him, how long would it take right now to conduct the investigation with the tools available right now? So he admitted, of course, the gathering of the data would last same time, but kind of due diligence or the analyst part would take a month.
Yeah, just deploying new technology.
Yeah. So how does it change the way how lawyers work, Marcin? You've lately you've said that we should be afraid the lawyers who use AI. So how they use it?
Yeah, so this is this statement is very much about skills, and skill set, and in fact, this is also very important observation that lawyers, they do not experiment anymore. They see implementation of AI as a way to grow their business, and this is another very important observation. Usage is one thing, but what does it mean for legal office, for my department, for my team? And it's worth to notice that more than 50% of lawyers, they see that they can increase revenue since they are using AI. Therefore, I would say it's becoming really also a competitive advantage. And simply lawyers who are better equipped and who knows how to use new technology, they can operate better on the market. It is also very important in hiring process, and this is also what we discussed last time. What kind of new skill sets for lawyers will be important. So again, this is not that much about hiring AI lawyer. This is more about hiring a lawyer who knows how to work with technology, and this is very visible.
So how do you compare, for example, the lawyers right now and developers? There's a famous online development course in Poland. It is called 10x Devs, which refers that right now the skilled professional can work like a team of 10.
Yeah.
Is it the same with the lawyers?
Yeah. So I think there's probably a lot of different perspectives on this, but I think I think ultimately technology is a means to an end. So for lawyers, and it's a discussion we were even having today internally. So the question is, how much understanding do you need to have of the underlying AI to work effectively with it? There will be some lawyers who really lead in, who have a technological interest, but I think a lot are more interested in what does it do for them? What's the impact it gives them? And I think that ultimately comes down to two things. One, I think productivity. So your example of being able to deal with bigger volumes of information faster, you can argue that's an efficiency gain. And the other is, and I think that's probably more important, is ultimately how does it help them grow their business? And what the survey shows, to Marcin's point, is that they are seeing that top line impact. Where it's coming from, that's something that's not detailed in the survey. But I think it's interesting that they're pointing to see that the business outcome, because ultimately, I think that's the thing we're trying to enable our customers, whether they be lawyers in a corporate setting or in a law firm, to enable them to improve their business outcomes and do that in a reliable and trustworthy way as well.
So, Marcin, speaking to the money itself, how do you think, how is it probable that lawyers will start working on a success fee rather for a flat rate price per hour?
I believe this is the market which should respond to this change. I cannot say in which direction it will go. Maybe it will be different per, let's say, different specialization, type of the project. So this is something we monitor very closely. Of course, there are companies that which predict that there will be a completely change in business model of legal offices. But for now, it seems that it's more in the direction of doing more and actually growing the business than changing what was working for many years, actually. So I think it's too early to say. At the same time, we have to take into consideration that the context is also changing. So those tools are relatively new. They are changing. There will be new costs related to that. So there is a high dynamic.
I think this is the debate around the hourly rate has been around forever. And I think what I see is, and I recently observed a panel of corporate lawyers, and they were asked this question. And I thought their answer was fascinating. Their answer was, Of course, they look at the fees that are charged by the law firms, but ultimately, for very large enterprises in particular, the quality of the advice they get is the thing that's most important at the point when they have a business issue.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think that's something that is extremely important, because ultimately, you when you go to an external firm, you're going to get a question. You're going to resolve a question or an issue that you probably can't resolve internally. And at that point, then I think the value becomes more important than the price.
Sure.
Now, there will be other segments where I think that price sensitivity will be different. And I think for me, what's interesting is the discussion around, will these tools and capabilities and different pricing models that a bigger share of society will get access to legal services than gets access today? That's a much bigger question, but that's probably a whole other discussion.
Well, interesting insight. I've seen a couple of services, for example, offering filling simple forms, replacing the lawyers. If you want to create a simple form to the court connected, for example, with collections, you can automate it easily. So there is no expertise needed.
It very much depends on the type of the service. Yeah, so there are some services which are relatively simple and I would say standardized. Yeah, lawyer is not adding much value to that. Yeah, and then this is very much something which can be supported or even managed by AI. Yeah, but everywhere when there is a need for some interaction at the end, there is a room for lawyer to add value. Sure. It's a different game.
Martin, how do you handle with AI hallucinations? It's a broad topic.
Yeah, so I think for us the key thing is, and this has been for us, I would say, a primary driver since we've been deploying AI, even before large language models. I mean, we've been deploying AI in our products for over 10 years. Hallucinations are new. They came along with large language models, but it's all about grounding it in our authoritative content. That's the key thing. And I think that is where hallucinations, at least from our perspective, you will never eliminate 100%, but you minimize to the level where the risk is minimized. And that's really grounding it in with tools like RAG, grounding it in our basically in our authoritative content. And that's really important for our customers, because the being able to trust the quality of the answer is ultimately that's imperative.
Yeah. Lately, Martin, you've said that we should treat the AI agents, AI chats, like a sparring partner. So how can we trust the sparring partner? And how to do the sparring itself?
We should trust to some extent, but we should be very aware how to work with such sparring partners. So sparring partner AI technology cannot work alone. Yeah, there is from our perspective, from Wolters Kluwer perspective, there has to be professional responsibility for the outcome, and we very much. This is our principle that we are designing products, we are delivering products while keeping humans in the loop. Yeah. So, and this is not just a statement. This is a principle. What does it mean exactly in our case? So, first of all, we create our solution in such a way that whatever is the outcome, it can be verified. Yeah. And this is responsibility of a professional, of a lawyer, to verify the outcome with a source, and sources, this is what we provide.
So each and every output is kind of the draft.
We consider this as a proposal. Yeah, it might be considered a draft. Yeah, and of course there are some cases, some scenarios that you don't need to pay that much attention, because that might be some let's say initial email summarization, simple cases. But of course there are situations, there are scenarios when the risk is high. Yeah, and for example, if you are working on a case in a Supreme Court, you have to pay a lot of attention to whatever is being generated, whatever is being delivered. Yeah, so this human in the loop, this is very important. And the second part of that is that we put a lot of attention to training users. Yeah, so we are sharing knowledge with them. We make sure that they know how to use tools, AI tools, how to generate documents and answers. And we also introduce, in fact, a new role in our organization, which is called legal engineers, and they are working with our customers to make sure that the tools they are using are used in the right way.
Martin,
And it's
anything to
actually,
add?
I think firstly, it's important to note that the way we're deploying AI for our customers is it's augmenting rather than replacing. That's the, I think, a very important premise. And the legal engineer function that Martin referred to, essentially, they're actually people who have a legal background. They're lawyers who have a technology. They have the combination of strong technological affinity and legal expertise, which enables them on one hand to understand how models are working, but more importantly, to understand how those models work in the context of the daily work of a lawyer, whether you're working in a corporate legal department in a corporation or in a law firm.
How do you source them?
Difficult. It's hard. I mean, it's a hard skill set to get. I mean, we have just hired a number, we're hiring across Europe. We have hired a couple. Have we two now in Poland at this stage?
Two in Poland.
Two in Poland. And if anyone is listening and wants to apply for a nice legal engineering job, then they should contact Martin.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Could you please share the story? You've just acquired Libra.
Yeah.
Could you please share the story, the background story of acquiring that?
Yeah. So the background story, I think, to Libra is very interesting. I mean, if you look at the, but it's not unlike acquisitions we've done in the past. So we've always, we always keep an eye in terms of startups, because startups are often doing interesting stuff. Sometimes we look at them, they might be a threat to our business. Sometimes they're an opportunity. Often it turns out they're opportunities more than threats, because what we see is that startups bring often they come to a problem with a technologically solution. And what they miss often is domain knowledge, really understanding the problem that the customer is trying to solve, and they miss content. And I think what we've seen with Libra have been extremely successful in Germany, dealing with delivering what we call the legal assistant capability, so drafting, review, but also workflow capability. And what they had done quite successfully is integrated content from Otto Schmidt. It's one of our I would say our peers in Germany. And I think what we got excited about when we started talking to them is they're legals by background. A lot of the team are, Victor is a former practicing lawyer, so he understands the space extremely well. They have a solution that is well received in the market. And I think what we got excited is about two things. One, the ability to take that solution into other markets in Europe, but to really accelerate it by integrating our content. And we will not integrate our content into other language models, because we believe that the risk to our intellectual property is too high to do it. So this is the perfect combination. So
you own the channel and the data.
We own the channel and the data and the platform. So Libra essentially is a platform, and we've launched now in 5 countries. We're kind of rolling out to the rest of the countries in Europe in the next month. So it's going pretty fast. It's very exciting.
Marcin, what are the biggest challenges and the benefits of combining those two different worlds? So the startup and the company like Wolters, Kluwer.
Yeah, so we have 2 very different organizations. Yeah, so of course there is a different dynamic of startup of Libra team moving very fast and with clearly focus on the product, on the solution that they are working on. And on the other side, we have Wolters Kluwer, which is a bigger organization with bigger portfolio, more procedures. So this is something that we have to manage also from a cultural perspective. Yeah, but at the same time, combination of those two means that we combine speed with trust. Yeah, and in Poland, it also means that we can share the expertise that we have about markets, customer relationship. But what is very important, also content that is available in Lex, in System Informacji Prawnej Lex, and now it's part of Libra solution. Yeah, and by putting this all together, we create a unique value for our customers. I think this is also worth to add that with Libra, we have an opportunity also to enrich other products that we have in our portfolio. So it's not only Lex, not only content product, but we clearly see on our roadmap that we would like to combine AI platform with our software solutions. Yeah, so this is a lot of things will come and will bring values for our customers.
Wherever you combine regulation with text, there's a field for Libra.
Yeah.
I can imagine that in future you will be able to serve also all the procedures combined with purchasing as well, the legal ones. Am I right?
Yeah, actually, this is exactly that. This is a good point because we are looking and will be looking at the different workflows. Yeah, and we can call it procedures. And in many of them, content, let's say legal and regulatory content is necessary. AI can bring more efficiency. With combination of those, you can get amazing results.
So, Martin, is there any ceiling of how many AI tools can lawyer use?
I would say,
and is there a tool and competency that won't be replaced by AI?
Oh, that last question is more difficult. So let me take the first one first. What I see is, if I look at the last couple of years, I mean, you started early on with the question of what has happened since the last survey, and it was, the huge shift from people talking about using technology to actually using AI daily. What we see is that customers are, I would say, still going through an experimental phase. So they try different things. And I think this is also probably good because they want to figure out what works in my business, what works in the context of the problem I'm trying to solve. I think actually, though, that you will see, as always, especially with the larger law firms and larger corporations, they will end up rationalizing down to a couple of tools just because of, I would say, purchasing scale, but also ensuring that you can, one of the things that I see in our discussions with customers is things like security, confidentiality, privacy. These things have to be taken as a given. But the fourth one is also that the tools can deliver professional reliability. So essentially that, that considerations in the tools of AI regulations, for example, have been taken care of. So I think with these factors, and also I think just with how do you roll out tools consistently across an organization, if you have too many tools, that's very hard to do that consistently. So I think what you'll see is a rationalization. And I think ultimately the tools that will win will be the ones that really have demonstrable impact in the workflow of the customer. So either help on efficiency or on the business growth, and the ones that can do that in a way which are reliable and can deliver the quality of outcomes that are trustworthy. So I think you're going to see a rationalization.
Marcin, a question arises in my head right now. So if you're looking at the workflows and tasks that will be, of course, augmented or automated. So let's look at the skills that lawyers have. So there are the hard skills, let's say the knowledge, experience, and there are the soft skills, communication, empathy, ability to negotiate better, to sell much more efficiently. So are the soft skills becoming the hard skills if there's an infrastructure and solutions that are working more and more effectively?
So I've been thinking about the question I didn't answer. So, and it ties maybe to this one, which is, I think the thing that will not be replaced is professional judgment. So, and that's coming down to, I think, the soft skills you refer to, which is the ability to, I would say, interpret the context of the question or problem you're trying to solve, using the tools and capabilities to ultimately come to a professional view on what's the right path for the client. And that I would say probably encapsulates a lot of the things that you talk about, the soft skills, but also just understanding how you apply your professional judgment. That I think is a thing that is, I would say, impossible to replace.
And maybe adding to that, this is a very important question, what cannot be replaced. And we can have a long discussion about that, but I believe that human-to-human interaction cannot be replaced. Yeah. So in this context, lawyer as a strategic advisor, for example, as somebody who see a context of a business or more broader of a customer, who can influence or propose some direction or decision, this is something which will stay and should stay with us. Yeah, and at the end, law has to have a human face. Yeah, and that's the face of a lawyer, of a judge.
And maybe just to add to that, I mean, if you look at that's not something that's addressed in the Future Lawyer report directly, but the role that corporate lawyers play in companies today is very different than it was 10 years ago. So if you look at things like cybersecurity, privacy, just influence around just business processes, that has changed fundamentally. So I think they have a much stronger voice at the table than they had 10 years ago. So I think that is not going to change. If anything, that becomes even more important.
So the lawyers will become more technologists rather than humanists?
Come again?
So you can divide the people between the tech ones and the humanists.
Yeah.
The lawyers tend to be always the humanists.
Yes.
They were reading books and they had the ability to think, to work with their intellect.
Yeah.
And right now, they should also use the hard skills, the technical ones.
Yeah, but I think, and maybe this is coming back to what I said early on, that I ultimately think that for the majority of lawyers, technology is still a means to an end, because the technology should enable them to have the advantage of the capabilities you bring with the new tools. But ultimately, I think it's more effective if it's done in a way which helps them augment where their strength is, which is the humanist skills, rather than that they have to become technologists. That I don't think is a realistic...
But I can imagine a lawyer tech geek who knows each and every tool.
You have some of those as well. Yeah. But I don't think they will be the majority of lawyers.
Interesting times. Martin, could you please share any advices, any use cases from your own perspective, your experience? How do you personally use the tools?
Yeah, so I always say, tell my kids, you have to experiment and test them out. But I had a nice example recently. So every year at the end of the year, we present our. I'm invited on Dutch radio to talk about our results, our financial results from the previous year. And that's quite a stressful event for me because I'm actually Irish, so Dutch is not my first language. And I would say the stress was added to by one of my colleagues who called me up the first year I did it. And he says, Martin, if you go on the radio and you don't do a good story, he said, if you do a good job, people will forget it immediately. But he says, if it goes badly, they will remember it forever. So this put huge pressure on me. So, it's usually a slot of 6 to 8 minutes, 10 minutes max.
Yeah.
It's like prime time, drive time radio. And so I used, this time around, I actually used ChatGPT Enterprise to be my challenger. So basically be the interview. And what I really liked is that it knows the context of the BNR. So it's a business business news radio. And so it could tell me the sequence of the questions I would be asked and basically challenge me, difficult questions. So
sure. Did you use the voice mode?
Yes. Yeah. So it's pretty impressive. So yeah.
Marcin, how about you?
Yeah, so even today we're looking at this is not completely new, but there is this famous diagram from Anthropic, which is analyzing this gap between capabilities of AI and actually how is it being used. And we're looking this also from perspective of the management, that the capability is very high already. Yeah. However, the usage in this area not that much. So just one example from this area, and this is job related. Every year we are updating, we are looking, we are working on our goals, and our KPIs generally. And this is something which we considered as this is a serious task. Yeah, we are working with our managers, with our teams. And I have to share that the support you can get with from AI tools for such tasks is quite amazing. Yeah, just again, kind of a sparring partner, understanding the context, the history of previous KPIs, if you are adding proper data, and actually making sure that this is organized in a right way with all goals are smart goals. Yeah, so. It's not that much about gaining efficiency, because still I would like to focus on such tasks, but the quality, the final outcome is much better. Yeah, so that's one of the recent scenarios I can describe.
I can share with you one way of my favorite way of working with the chatbots. Just prove me I'm wrong.
Oh yeah,
I'm asking the chatbot, just prove me I'm wrong.
And are you surprised by the outcomes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it works really, really well because it made you think.
Yeah.
So I also, more often I'm asking for the questions, stating the questions rather than stating the answers.
Yeah.
It's much more interesting.
Well, that is interesting, because I had a conversation recently with my peers in the executive team about whether our kids are critical thinkers or not. And the conclusion was that for a lot of my American colleagues, they are worried that college level kids are not critical thinkers. They're not asking critical questions. I said, well, my household must be an exception, because I have a 19-year-old and a 23-year-old, maybe because the oldest is in journalism. They ask questions all the time. My youngest one's probably a little bit different, but I think but that's an interesting use case for young people, actually, to use it in that way. That's probably not the first thing that would come to mind, actually.
Martin, that was a pleasure.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dzięki serdeczne za Waszą uwagę i czas. Jeżeli podobał Ci się ten odcinek, będę serdecznie zobowiązany, jeżeli puścicie go dalej w świat. A tymczasem pozdrawiam Was serdecznie. W przypadku jakichkolwiek pytań lub chęci nawiązania potencjalnej współpracy, piszcie na adres karol@99twarzy.ai.pl. Do usłyszenia. Podcast 99 twarzy AI. Zaprasza Karol Stryja.